there! Happy Friday! Welcome to this week's marketing training here inside of Get Booked Out, where, if you haven't seen, we're talking about social media. Obviously, a super hot topic right now. Here we are on social media. We know that our clients are hanging out here, and how do you use it for your practice? Chances are, whatever marketing related thing you've read on the internet for your practice, or you've talked to someone about, or you've seen in a Facebook group, has mentioned that you should be on social media. And so you're being told this, but quite frankly, you don't really know how or why or where or when or anything like that. And this is something that I talk with a lot of therapists like you about. So today is all about that. Before I jump in, we have a ton of new faces in this group, which is really, really wonderful. If this is your first time seeing me, hi, I'm Anna. I am a marketing and web strategist, and I work specifically with therapists and counselors like you. And I have over time developed some approaches and some formulas for marketing that simplify how you can get clients to learn about you and ultimately how they become paying clients for a long time. That's everything that we talk about here inside of Get Booked Out. It's everything I talk about in these marketing trainings. It's everything that I do when I work one-on-one with clients or with some of my other offerings, such as the Fill Your Practice formula. So that's me. I'm really happy you're here. If you're joining me live, say hello in the comments. Let me know where you're joining from. If you're catching the replay, I know that Friday afternoons can be a little bit iffy. Maybe you're seeing a client right now. Drop a hashtag replay into the comments to make sure that I can see any thoughts or questions you may have, because I want this to be really useful for you. If I say something and you're not super clear on it, or you have an idea, drop that in the comments. Let's chat. I am big about replying to you and making sure that you are getting what you need out of this group. The beauty of us being a smaller community means I can do that, and I love getting to. So let's go ahead and dive in. Social media for your practice, what to post, when to post, and how to use it to grow. That's what we're going to talk about today. But before I dive into that, there is one thing that's really important that I want to make sure we all understand. Like I said, I've developed these formulas for marketing. I've seen them work. I know they work because of my marketing background, things like that. Social media is what I call a tier 3 marketing tool. So that means that there are 2 tiers under that one, right? So tier 1 is a really, really strong and effective website, your number 1 marketing tool in your practice. Tier 2 are things like Psychology Today and networking. Tier 2 are those low-hanging fruit marketing things where you don't have to spend a lot of money, you don't have to put in regular effort every single, week or day like you do social media or something like that. So when we talk about a tier 3 marketing tool like social media, blogging is another example, social media is not going to be effective for you if those other tiers aren't being used as well. If you are on social media really actively, but you're not able to send people to a really effective website, then they're probably not going to you're probably not going to see as many results from your Facebook or your Instagram as you would like. Similarly, if people aren't becoming aware of you in other ways, such as Psychology Today and networking, they're probably also not going to be using your social media to find you for the first time and decide you're the therapist for them. We're going to get into that in that how to use it to grow a little bit, but I really want to make that clear that if you've been told you need to be on Facebook, but you're just starting out in your practice and you're still putting together those building blocks, I strongly encourage you to invest in those first 2 tiers first, and then add social media on top. That's what my Fill Your Practice formula is going to teach you and help you to do. Niche, website, Psych Today, networking, and then some of the bonuses you'll find inside of there are to help you with your social media, but it's only when we have that foundation in place. So with that understanding and with that expectation and understanding of how social media works, let's get into it. This is assuming you've got those tier 1 and tier 2 in place and you're ready to really tap into the power of social media. So when people come to social media and learn about you for the first time, this may be because they were on your website and they clicked the Facebook icon, or they simply stumbled across a hashtag you used on Instagram, whatever that is. The fact is they're not going to be inclined to follow a social media channel, you or quite frankly any other social media channel, if it's just full of promotional posts, right? If it's just acting like a billboard for you and how great you are and go to my website and schedule a consultation and all of that, they're not going to follow you because you're not offering them anything, right? So you have to really approach social media as, what can I offer my ideal client here? Because social media is about showing people that you know what you're talking about, that you're a legitimate resource, that you're an expert in the space that you operate in. And that's what social media is an extension of. That's what we want people to see when they end up on your Facebook or on your Instagram or something like that. Oh, we're getting a technical difficulty. Let me make sure we're still live here. Sorry. Otherwise, I'll restart. All right, I think we're still live. Hopefully we are, otherwise we're going to be refilming this. But anyway, so people aren't going to follow social media if it's just a billboard for you. So what do you post? If you have sat down and been like, I don't know what to say on Facebook, I don't know what to say on Instagram, what do? I want you to understand and remember the 3E framework. The 3E framework is educate, engage, empower. And these three segments, these three topics can help you flesh out every single social media post you ever post for the rest of your career. It literally is that simple. And the reason that we use these 3Es is because it's the 3 ways that you can offer value and expertise to your clients and ultimately become memorable in a way that they become a paying client of yours. So let's talk about education. This is where you're going to show your expertise. And you're going to do that by creating some kind of resource or offering some tips or something like that, or sharing one from another trusted source. It's really important to remember that, especially on Facebook, but on Instagram as well, you can share other people's content. That's a really helpful way for you to establish rapport with other therapists, for you to get your name in front of other people. It's okay to share. And so when you come across something that's useful for a client, maybe you send a client a blog post, pop it on your social media too, right? We want to show people you know what you're talking about and that you're an expert. So educate prompts. Let's think about what you could post that falls into that category. Maybe you do, 5 grounding exercises you can do at your desk. If you work with kind of a busy career woman and you know that she's spending a lot of time at her desk, either at home or back in the office if she's back in person, that would be a really useful thing if anxiety and grounding is really important for these people. Or maybe 3 ways to set boundaries in a loving way. I've seen some really helpful posts out there right now about how to, kindly say no to gatherings because of concerns around COVID. So if people are like, oh, don't worry about it, just come over. These are some really helpful, kind of ways or scripts you can use to set that boundary in a loving way. All of a sudden, you're being really relevant to these people and really, really useful and showing them, wow, she knows how to approach this in a way that I haven't thought about before. She must know what she's talking about, right? So that's educate. That's one bucket I want you to think about when it comes to what to post on social media. Next up, engage. This is where you ask a question or provide some kind of prompt to help followers engage with your content. Now, one thing I want to note here is that the nature of therapy is that people aren't necessarily going to engage with you all of the time. Is your following going to be massive? Probably not. There are some therapists that have kind of exploded on Instagram and things like that, but chances are that people are still watching and they're still consuming even if they're not engaging. So if you put something out there like this and you don't get any comments or something like that, I encourage you not to be discouraged because there are still eyes on what you're doing. And if there aren't yet, there will be eventually. So ask a question or provide a prompt. This is something like take a moment to check in with yourself as you end the week. Maybe you post this on a Friday. What is one thing you're proud of? So maybe someone will have, the courage and be okay posting a comment, and maybe it'll instead just be an internal reflection where you've caused them to pause and they've stopped in their feed and seen what you had to say and seen your name and been reminded of what you're encouraging them to do. Maybe you ask what you've learned about yourself so far this year. That could be a really interesting one. Obviously 2020 has been a crazy year. That could be a really interesting one. So think about ways that you can engage people. This doesn't have to be super therapy focused either. This can be fun things, what they're doing for their weekend, things like that. But think about ways that you can engage people and that you can ask or prompt them to do something or to think a certain way. Engaging is a really, really easy thing to be posting on social media every once in a while. And then empowerment. One of the amazing things you do as a therapist is empowering your clients, right? You empower them to, stand up for themselves, to be confident in relationships, to do all kinds of things, to view their body in different ways. You have so much skill around that. And so show that in your social media. Offer motivation or inspiration to your ideal client. The best thing to ask yourself here is, what does my ideal client need to hear right now? So obviously a lot of that's going around right now is around anxiety and the fact that we've all been at home and things like that. So speak to those things, or just speak to the general challenges that your ideal client is having. Repost a quote or a thought from someone that you respect. What do you encourage your clients to remind themselves of or to think about as they leave your office? Again, make that into a social media post. This isn't rocket science, and you don't have to recreate the wheel. This can be an extension of the types of things that you offer your clients. Obviously, you're not doing therapy on social media, but you can offer some of those tips and some of those approaches that you offer inside of the therapy room, because what we're trying to do here is to give them a sense of what it's like to be with you. To understand that you are a legitimate expert, to understand that you approach life and this therapeutic relationship with empathy and understanding and validation. How can you do that in your social media? By educating them, by engaging them, and by empowering them. That's what you do in the therapy room. So try not to overcomplicate what to put on social media, and instead just think in those 3 buckets. Now, there is one other bucket, and it doesn't start with an E. So that's the 3E framework plus P. P is where we're going to promote. And there is a time and a place for you to still remind people that they can take the next step with you. And so that's the promote bucket. So this is where you remind your followers. Think of it as a reminder that help is available, and that that you're there to, if they want to go ahead and take the next step. Really great way and compelling way to do this is to film a short video. Introduce yourself, talk about what you do, and let them know that they can visit your website to schedule a free consultation. Showing up on video in social media at least once a month is a powerful way to create engagement, because again, we're showing them what it's like to work with you. Especially if you plan to continue or have always done online therapy, people seeing you on the screen is creating that automatic familiarity. So that's really, really powerful. Maybe you share an image of your teletherapy setup and remind them, that online therapy is super HIPAA compliant, very secure, and you can do it from anywhere just like you do, whatever that is. Talk about what you do. Remind people what you do. So don't shy away from that, but make sure that you're also thinking in the 3E framework for most of your content, so that we're making sure that ultimately people are getting valuable, and they're getting value, and they're seeing what it is that you can offer as a therapist to them. Now, there's a lot of questions, and I've even seen a couple just today from some new members, or this week. Facebook or Instagram, do I need to be on both? Do I need to be on any of them? My absolute 100% first question to you is, where is your ideal client spending their time? If your ideal client is a millennial, is a young professional, they're probably spending time on Instagram, so it might be worth investing there. Almost everyone is on Facebook, almost every age group. The fastest growing age group on Facebook is the older generation, actually boomers in that age group. So if you're working with, middle-aged to upper-aged adults, then Facebook is a great place to start. If you're not willing to kind of do both, which is perfectly fine, you want to start with one, Facebook is your best bet for most therapists if you want to just go ahead and kind of dip your feet in and then maybe decide if Instagram is right for you. So keep that in mind. The good news is that the 3E framework works regardless of platform. You can just think in that way, regardless of if you're creating images for Instagram or doing something that's a little more text heavy or image heavy, or linking like you can on Facebook, which allows you a little bit more flexibility. So if you're a little bit like, okay, the Failure Practice Formula does have a calendar that walks you through the 3E framework and the P's, so that you can kind of just brain dump all of your topic ideas, and then there's a calendar where you can just plug that in, because it's also not just about what you post, but when you post it, which is the next part of this training. So when to post. My suggestion is that you're posting a minimum of 4 to 5 times a week. So that means that throughout the course of a week, you can do one of each post type. 1 educate, 1 engage, 1 empower, and 1 promote. I would definitely add on one of the other E's if you're able to get to that 5 posts per week. But the fact is that there's a lot of time and energy involved with creating social media. The most important thing is that you're showing up consistently. So if you can only commit to 2 to 3 posts per week, make sure you are showing up consistently with 2 to 3 posts per week. There is nothing worse than being a potential client, clicking over to a Facebook group, and you not having posts in 2019, or you haven't posted since, May or March or whatever that is. So you have to show up on a regular basis. If this is something you're going to commit to, it's a long-term commitment. It's a long game, and make sure that whatever you commit to, you're willing to do over the long term. Now, there are certain days and times that are better for Facebook and Instagram. We know that the algorithm is like crazy. We're not just showing people in consecutive order when things were posted. The algorithm is shifting things around and showing you what you're more likely to like and that kind of thing. And so a lot of the kind of data and studying around social media shows us that on Facebook, Mondays through Fridays between 8 and 5 are actually the most engaging, which is funny because that's when most people are working. So apparently they're on Facebook at work. Here we are, it's noon on a Friday. Instagram, Tuesday through Friday between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m., so a little bit later into the day, and Saturday mornings. Now, these are based on all industries and millions of users, not just your ideal client. So test this. Try different times. See if you get like a ton of engagement on a Tuesday morning or on a Sunday afternoon or something like that. Oftentimes, some of the best conversations I have with therapists inside of this group is Saturday mornings, Friday evenings, and then early in the mornings on weekdays and things like that. So test what works. You'll start to learn your ideal client and their behavior so that you can make sure you're getting in front of them. All right, now let's talk about how. How do you use social media to grow? And I hit on this a little bit as we talked about this being a tier 3 marketing strategy, right? You cannot build a practice on Facebook alone or Instagram alone. The purpose of social media is about reinforcing who you are. It's about reinforcing your brand as a therapist, your brand as a practice, and giving yourself more credibility. So someone might learn about you from Psychology Today, and then they'll visit your website, and then they'll visit your Facebook, and then they'll come back to your website. And through those 3 touch points, you have created this really consistent experience, and they're getting the same thing from you. Each of those platforms is offering them something different, and it's ultimately adding up to the point that they're willing to be like, yeah, I'm going to reach out to this therapist. This therapist knows what they're talking about. They're presenting themselves in a really cool and approachable way. And all of a sudden, you've reinforced yourself enough that people feel confident in you. That's what social media is about. So I want to be clear that social media is unlikely to be a direct referral source for you. The fact is, when people are scrolling Instagram, when I hop on Instagram, I'm not looking for a therapist, right? When I hop on Facebook, that's not where I'm going. Now, Google, very different. That's why Google ads tend to do better than Facebook ads and things like that, because the intent of someone on this platform is a lot different than on others. So I want you to instead think about social media as this tier 3 marketing tool, about being about brand recognition, about building familiarity, and ultimately about displaying your expertise. This is about boosting your credibility, showing people you know what you're talking about, and giving them a taste, a glimpse into what it means to work with you and what it is that you can offer them. One other really cool thing is that social media is incredibly helpful for networking with other therapists and referral sources. So again, that tier 2 marketing strategy we talked about, networking, which is so important and so huge for private practices, social media is a great way to extend that. So reach out to people who share your ideal client. Maybe that's another therapist in a different state, or your next door neighbor. This is the way that you can offer to share their content, or they can share yours. You can increase your circle and your visibility while helping people do that as well. It's about getting in front of more people. And how can you do that? One of the greatest ways is to network with it. So maybe I remember Andrea, who is she is an absolute picture of social media success when it comes to a group practice. I'll tag her Facebook and her Instagram in the comments after this. But Andrea, your shout out, I will never forget her talking about how she tags her local chamber of commerce in her stories or in her posts. And then oftentimes the Chamber of Commerce will share her content, because guess what? All your referral sources are also sitting in front of their computer wondering what the heck to post. And if you can offer them something that's really valuable and that is, positioned by an expert because you are an expert, that's an easy yes. So get creative about this and view your social media as a way to boost credibility, to build your circle, and to act as an extension of the great work that you do and the value that you can offer your clients. That is how you can use it to grow, to reinforce yourself, instead of using it as this main referral source. That's just not how social media works. But it can work as a way to really be an extension of what it is that you do and show people how and why you are so wonderful at therapy and at counseling, and about helping them become better versions of themselves. Friends, I hope that this was helpful for you. Let me make sure we don't have any comments here. If you have questions, I would love to answer them live. Let's just take a look. Doesn't look like we have any comments, which is perfectly fine. If you're watching this again as a replay or something like that, and you do have a comment, please don't hesitate to drop it in here. I would love to chat with you. If you're, crushing it on Facebook, similar to Andrea, or you want someone to, to take a look at your Facebook or something like that, drop your links there in the comments. Let's support one another and give each other pointers and things like that. But again, if you can just approach social media in this way, think about how you can add value and how this is an extension of you, you will start to enjoy social media a heck of a lot more, and start to see results in a way that brings in the people that you truly want to work with. And that is the goal. So friends, I hope that this was helpful for you. Thank you for being here. I'm so grateful to get to speak with you and interact with you on a regular basis inside of this group, and I'll see you next week.